Hello and welcome to this session, Financing the Shift to Circular Value Chains. This is the finance session today for the World Circular Economy Forum, and actually we just have one goal, and that is we want to move more money to circular economy projects and businesses. So let's see if we can help this today. My name is Marvin. I'm working as the lead finance at Circular Economy. Circular Economy is a global impact organization. We're based in Amsterdam. We want to create an economic system where all people and the planet can thrive. We're best known for the Circularity Gap Report. Maybe you have heard of that before. Actually, today is already the third time that we are here on stage at WCEF with the finance topic, and maybe some of you have been here last year, where we, with some senior representatives of the multilateral development banks, presented a shared vision. If you listen closely, at the very end of that session, I also mentioned that we are working on a circularity gap report finance. Today I can tell you that this was a very important exercise to do, and why? Because we wanted to really know how much money is flowing to the circular economy, or more specifically to businesses that are active in the circular economy. Why? Because we just don't know where we are, and we need to track and to understand actually what is going on. So I have a little bit of a sneak preview today for you on this, and this might be a bit of an overwhelming graph, but sometimes the financial capital flows can be a bit overwhelming. So we released the executive summary of the Circularity Gap Report Finance already. And I'm not going to dive too deep into it because, as you can see, it can be a bit overwhelming. We did this exercise together with KPMG and the International Finance Corporation. And I just want to highlight basically two things on this. And that's first, one of the main insights that we have is that money is not flowing to where the impact is. How can we tell? We saw that, especially, you can look at transportation here, for example, is that most of the money is flowing to very conventional business models. Why transportation? We saw that most of the money is, in the end, car repair, car lease, which, in theory, are probably circular business models, but are those really the ones that really make the impact? That's the question. We did also see that if you look, for example, at the built environment, where we know from the Circularity Gap Report, from the Global Resource Outlook, we know that there the most impact could be made because it's a very resource-intense sector. We see that a very, very tiny fraction is just focusing on the design and production phase, while there is actually the most impact to gain. So, for example, more bio-based materials and so on. The second thing that I really want to highlight is that in general, and you cannot take this from this graph, we see that less than 2% of global capital flows is going into circular economy activities. That, while actually every activity has some relation to resources. So this is a bit shocking. We also see that there was an overall increase of capital, of money flowing to circular economy since 2018, but it also peaked in 2021 and then, declined again. The question is, of course, why? We think that one of the main reasons is that the economics of the circular economy, unfortunately, often still do not work out. Why? We do not value resources accurately. Too many things are externalized. A second thing that we really see also in the financial sector is that the risks related to resources, supply risk and so on, they are not really being accounted for in existing risk models. And last but not least, I just think that the opportunity is not really understood. And maybe you already knew all this, but you definitely now have the evidence and the proof of it, so feel free to download it. The full report will be launched in June. And now, without further ado, let's get a bit more practical, because it can be done. The circular economy is being financed, and we are seeing more interest from the financial sector and from businesses in the topic. And let me just paraphrase Paul from yesterday, who said, finance is easy. It is easy. Often it is made a bit more complex. But there's one thing that I would like to add is, and that is the financial sector is not so easy. It can be very complex, and it can be especially complex for businesses who struggle to find the right financial instruments and the right financial institutions. That's why today we are going to learn from 3 different cases and examples what and how financing can actually made happen and what challenges are also being encountered. So let me first welcome the 2 speakers on the left. That is Manuel. He is the president of the Department of Environment and Sustainability of the Industrial Union of Buenos Aires province. And he will speak together with Patricia. And Patricia is the president of a small company, and I practice the pronunciation with her, Gonsalva, yeah? And she's also the vice president of Global Compact Initiative in Argentina. We will have a conversation a bit. Then the second example we will be discussing with Xandra. There will also be a video first, but Xandra, can I welcome you on stage as well? She works for InvestNL, and I finance the company called Avantium. You will get an introduction to the company in a bit. And then at the very end, we will have Marcela and Luis. Luis is the CEO of Prolade, a sustainable palm oil product producer. And Marcela works for IDB Invest, the private arm of the Inter-American Development Bank. And they co-finance this. Why do we have these 3? Because they are actually 3 different sized companies and 3 different kind of financial institutions. That's why I said the financial sector can be confusing. So we first talk really about small, medium enterprises. We talk a bit with Sandra about mid-sized scale-ups, and then we have the multinational that were financed with help of the multilateral development banks. So let's start with, I'm not sure if that's the right one, but like let's focus on the small and medium enterprises. Manuel and Patricia are going to discuss this in Spanish, so you need to put on your translators thing, if you don't speak Spanish. And I will just pose the first 3 questions in English, so you can follow a bit already what they will be discussing. So the first question is, what are the main barriers for small and medium enterprises? The second question, what role can collaboration among different SMEs play? And then the third question is really, what role can collaboration play for SMEs when collaborating with large corporations? And with that, I'm handing it over to you, Patricia.
Buenos días.
Good morning, and thank you very much for the invitation. My name is Patricia Malnati. I am the CEO of an SME. It's a family concern. I am the 2nd generation. We have been on the market for 50 years, developing compounds for the rubber industry. We manufacture mixtures, blends that can be used for the whole industry, producing rubber products. In fact, Consalva has been on the Argentinian market for 50 years in the Buenos Aires province, and since its beginnings, major large raw material manufacturers, tire manufacturers, we were called to be partners in circular economy processes. We began at a time where we were sort of embarrassed because it was not called waste, we called it garbage. And then slowly we change these concepts in a very important business for Consalva. Today, our raw materials, almost 40% of our raw materials come from waste, from raw material out of spec, compounds out of spec, semi-manufactured products, tire powder, that we re-include in our products in order, for instance, to produce bicycle covers, for instance. I explained that so that you understand the environment we move in. In fact, the circular economy is a huge opportunity for PMEs. It's a huge learning process. The beginning is very difficult, especially for small PMEs. As you know, there is a huge gap between SMEs. We have SMEs with 20 people, 200 people, and all of them have different challenges. But in fact, we have structural drawbacks that prevent us from achieving our goals, which is business or circular economy based goals. Some of them are related to the fact that the financial market does not see us as an opportunity. Furthermore, the market is not aware of financial tools to foster circular economy. And here I'd like to take a step back and say that I am fortunate enough to take part in a business forum where SMEs can get useful information about financial tools, local, national, international financial tools, to see if we can avail ourselves of them. So my participation in the industrial forum of Buenos Aires province is very useful. I'd like to encourage you to take part in your local industrial forums or groups. I think that all banks should also think about how to draw closer to SMEs. Sometimes SMEs are so much involved in their everyday activities and the company's micro challenges that we don't look for these tools. So we have to think about the whole SME chains. Another theme that I'd like to highlight is that SMEs sometimes are not able to give the required collaterals to have credit approval. Sometimes beginnings are very difficult. Sometimes we don't have the best machinery that we could use as a collateral. So it's very important to think about the issue of collaterals. Then I'd like to talk about bureaucracy. You know, all the documents required to get credit. Sometimes SMEs don't have the accounting and the bureaucratic knowledge about that. And last but not least, I'd like to talk about the high initial implementation costs that prevent us from going forward. At Consolva, we were fortunate enough to be contacted by the Argentinian Pirelli branch that got in touch with us in order to reuse their products, in order to produce tarpaulin for trucks. And that was very helpful because they taught us knowledge and technology, and they also gave us credibility so that banks look at us differently. So when we talk about partnerships with large companies, it's very important to have this opportunity. For SMEs, it's a huge added value. The other point I'd like to add is that we were lucky enough to take part in an Argentinian network because we started working on SDGs that help us use and implement indicators and goals that helped us establish goals, that helped us draw up sustainability reports, impact reports, communication, progress reports. So they helped us to work on other indicators in addition to financial indicators. And today, even finance is talking about these reports. I think that banks should start assessing return rates from a different light, not only from the economic standpoint, how much I give you, how much you can return to me, but the benefit produced by this finance, social, environmental, and other impacts. And I'd like to mention the issue of gender as well. Companies, women-led companies have fewer benefits when they ask for loans. And women are significantly fostering circular economy. You heard about cooperatives, vulnerable communities. Many of them are led by women. I take part in the women network of the Argentinian industry, and we did a survey for the win-win program of the UN, and we detected that the main problem faced by women when starting a business is financing, because they have fewer benefits. They are underrepresented in many industries as well. So I'd like to say, wrapping up, I think we shouldn't only look at circular economy as technology innovation. Circular economy has to be inclusive, socially equitable. So I'd like to encourage you to co-create a resilient, regenerative, and inclusive circular economy. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I am thrilled to be in this neighboring country, which is Brazil. As to the questions, barriers, etc., I'd like to say that seen from the Argentinian perspective, a country that is very similar to other countries in the region. The first one is the little availability of financing. For those who are not familiar with the Argentinian situation, 2 years ago, the inflation rate was 150%, and now a very high public debt. So financing is very difficult because it was used by the administration. Now we have a new government, and regardless of its politics, if macroeconomics is not organized, financing will never get there, let alone for SMEs. The other point that I'd like to highlight as a barrier is the lack of tax breaks and the appropriate regulatory framework. For instance, in Argentina, we see that sometimes there is a dichotomy, a controversy between regulations. The most recent standard fosters circular economy to mitigate climate change, but on the other hand, there is a underlying regulation that is 20, 30 years old that poses barriers to circular economy. And another barrier that's common to our region is the lack of knowledge on the part of company management about circular economy. If you look at the syllabi of administration schools, we don't talk about climate change, sustainability, etc. We cannot require from our managers things they're not aware of. As to solutions, it seems to me there is a huge potential on the synergies between value chains. Here we have positive examples. ProPymes, which is an initiative led by a group steel manufacturer in Argentina that leads the process, and all its value chain is a success case. And there is also large companies that can help SMEs to have access to green bonds, etc. The collaboration, intersectorial collaboration between industries that are on industrial hubs, which is a very common modality in our country, and where we can have synergy and synergetic cooperation to reduce costs, collaboration with business chambers, just like the Industrial Union and others, and collaboration with research and innovation institutes. And I'd like to tell you as an episode, Argentina is the Latin American country having the highest number of Nobel Prizes, 5. So we have technology and research institutes that are very important. We have to use their concrete solutions, their proposed solutions, and the role of government. I see the environment minister and of Cordoba, which is a very important province in Argentina. So they have a department of environment and circular economy. So it's very important to have public-private partnership. In Argentina, in some municipalities, some local governments, for instance, in Tandil, in the Buenos Aires province, that wants to position itself as an innovation district where there are unicorns to promote innovation, circular economy, etc. Another important role is that of international cooperation. For instance, the role of international chambers. A few years we had successful cases of sectorial chambers, such as the steel-making chamber, thanks to the cooperation with Germany that did diagnosis and sectorial roadmaps and innovations to promote circular economy. And on the other hand, I think that meetings, raising awareness of business leaders, be they big or small companies, by and large, in a country where the macroeconomics is not organized, of course, PMS are only looking at the micro. They are thinking of the situation and not of the macro situation. So it's very important to have international cooperation, financing by public banks. This is something coming back to Argentina, that all that could provide for a good solution to the problem.
Very impressive. So next time I'll speak Spanish, I hope. So to conclude, I mean, what I heard a lot is collaboration, and that is among the SMEs also, but especially also collaborating with large corporations to get more credibility, maybe access to guarantees and so on. I also heard that SMEs should also talk to the financial sector and to banks and so on, and the other way around. The banks should also consider more SMEs. And last but not least, I very much heard we need to empower more women, which is always a good idea. And I think today we strike the gender balance, right? So that's a good start, I guess. So yeah, thank you so much for those insights, especially from Argentina. And
A vos, Marvin, muchas gracias.
thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe the SMEs have already learned something from that. We're now moving a bit more to the larger corporations, the scale-ups and the mid-sized. And after those great insights, we now have a short video of a company that actually makes plastics and green chemistry in general from purely renewable materials. So it's called Avantium from the Netherlands, and we have a brief video to introduce the company.
If we all took a moment to listen carefully and ask the Earth, what does your future look like? This is what she'd answer. The fossil fuels it took me 300 million years to create are almost entirely gone after 200 years. So what are you still looking for inside of me? Get your heads out of the ground and look for growth where you will always find it. Once you discover the potential there, we can all really start making progress. We are Avantium, and we've listened carefully. We invent wonderful things, like plastics that aren't made from oil or gas, but from plants, wood chips, and even CO2. They're lighter, stronger, and better for everyone. That's green chemistry. Renewable chemistry. We're going to change the world. And this is just the beginning. Do you want to be part of it? Because the future of plastics lies above the ground. The only way is up. Avantium.
Hello, my name is Jaap van der Velde and I am Finance Director of Avantium Renewable Polymers. At Avantium, our mission is to lead the transition from fossil-based to sustainable plastics and materials using renewable feedstocks with a team of 300 passionate professionals. Our headquarters, state-of-the-art labs, and pilot plants are operating in the Netherlands. And we are currently starting up the world's first commercial FTCA flagship plant.
We'll be opening the plant.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We are at the forefront of developing technologies that transform renewable resources into valuable chemicals and circular plastics for consumer products. Amongst our achievements is Relief, or as it's called, PEF, a 100% plant-based polymer that not only is sustainable, but also offers exceptional performance and full recyclability. Key to the success of funding the company lies in the business case, which can not only rely on sustainability. Our product is not only green, but also cost competitive and provides key performance advantages compared to its fossil-based competitors. As we attempt to commercialize a highly innovative technology and construct a capital-intensive flagship plant, many traditional financiers deem the investment risky. Such innovative large projects can take longer, cost more, and have an uncertain outcome. Hence, key to success is a combination of the aforementioned sound financeable plan, many years of evidence gathered in our pilot facilities, and a range of partners throughout the value chain. Avantium managed to partner not only with investors, but also on feedstock with its engineering and construction company, technology partners, government, and a wide range of customers, market launching the product from the flagship plant, including big brand names. This largely de-risks the business case. However, on financing, also a consortium of traditional financiers required partial government backing and investment leaders with a different view on risk and opportunity to pitch in. Avantium has successfully been through various funding rounds to support our innovative projects and growth. In March 2017, Avantium raised 109 million euros through an IPO. And since then, we have secured over 300 million euros through grants, equity, and debt. InvestNL has been a major supporter of Avantium, providing crucial financial backing and strategic collaboration. They committed a significant loan as part of a debt financing package totaling 120 million euros. This consortium of lenders also included major Dutch lenders, including ABN AMRO, ASN, ING, and Rabobank. InvestNL has also played a key role in other funding rounds, such as underwriting a share issue that raised 70 million euros for our green initiatives. Overall, InvestNL support has been multifaceted, offering both financial backing and strategic guidance to help us achieve our goals.
Yes, after this very dramatic video, I mean, it's a great example how financing can happen and how you can actually scale up. And Xandra, you work for InvestNL, and tell us a bit more why you actually invested in Avantium as InvestNL. Oh?
Do not do it? Okay, yeah, it's doing. InvestNL was very eager to invest in Avantium because it's a new material, a flagship, and also a new development in the Netherlands. And it also means that a lot of suppliers will be involved, off-takers, so the whole ecosystem is there. And that also means that you also get others to follow. So it's not only just an investment, but it's also a setting that you want to have in the Netherlands for a new material, innovation, and also others will also develop new materials with what they make. For example, when you developments together with the companies like a beer company or Coca-Cola, they can use that material to be more bio-based and also a closed loop.
Yeah. So really setting an example and at the very beginning of the...
Indeed. And also the investment aligns totally with our mandate and our impact assessments, and so that's why it was really a good choice.
Yeah, yeah, well, I think.
And others also followed. We also invested in the biopolymers and also in valorizing waste. So it's really a good example.
Multifaceted. So maybe let's dive a bit deeper into how that actually was financed and how you as InvestNL also finance, and what kind of financing instruments are then available, and what is also special about this case.
Yeah. Yeah, so the consortium was built, so it's also to share the risk, skin in the game, so that not only investing in one company, but also together with other investors to make sure that the development can grow to a certain level, and that you can take the risk together. And also, because it's a very high capex intensive project, build a flagship from the ground up. So that's why it's necessary to collaborate with other investors, private investors, but also banks, with the governmental institutes, and also looking at what we normally do is we invest like equity investment, but also loans and guarantees, but also we also do projects, and the collaboration is one thing that we are very eager to emphasize.
Yeah.
And of course, we are always additional, so we are not taking we're not taking businesses from other investors. So we are additional in that sense, and that is more what we are. According to our mandate, we can take more risk in that area.
And who was coordinating this collaboration across the banks? Is that also a role that you then take as InvestNL, or?
We took the role in getting the investors together, and also making sure that everybody has their share.
Yeah.
And also in collaboration, definitely with Avantium, how what their strategy is in their investment. So how can we align to their development, and also how can we align with their prospects and their collaboration with their off-takers.
Okay, yeah, interesting. I mean, you already mentioned a number of different instruments that can be used. So you are mostly active in the Netherlands, that's right?
Yeah, that's right.
But of course, circular economy value chains are never local and never just in one country.
No.
So how do you look at that, and how?
Avantium is a Dutch company, and we invested in the flagship. And when they are producing a certain amount of plastics and licensing their technology to different customers. It's also possible that we are that it's feasible that in different areas or Europe or the world there will be another flagship plant built by Avantium. That's why we're collaborating with other other promotional institutes in Europe, but also we are collaborating with Invest International, and also looking at how can we finance that. So it could be that from different areas. Different investment development banks or institutes can follow and also collaborate in that sense. So that we partner and also bridge the gap for expanding their industry.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I guess, also the reason why you're on stage. You also want to share the insights outside of the Netherlands. And you mentioned the joint initiative Circular Economy, so that's the national promotion banks.
We also joined that because we want to reaffirm our circular economy, and also together with other promotional investment banks in Europe, to really really have the aim to get the circular economy running, and also developed in an impactful way. So That's one thing, but also looking at different instruments in financing, also learning from each other. How can we finance a certain scaling in the industry, but also looking at new business models, and really learn from each other, and also collaborating in how the policies is according to can be applied, and also to the environment, what investment world is.
Yeah, that's a topic that we've heard, I think, already yesterday and today. A lot, of course, policy plays a big role as well. So thanks for this, Xandra. And then just to conclude again a bit. So we see again, collaboration is key. In this case, it was really a consortium of financiers that had to come together to really lower the risk. You mentioned a number of different financing instruments, so relating back to the financial sector can be complex. There is sometimes you need equity, sometimes the blended finance you need to basically make it going. Sometimes guarantees and so on. I think that's a very important lesson. Also, just having a public party like yours that can take a bit more risk involved in this kind of financing.
And that is I think that's a good, very big disadvantage, that we can take more risk.
Yeah.
And also we are looking at the public, but also private investors. We're working with the private equity. We're working with other parties, we are trying to develop the circular economy on a level that is scalable, and also for a lot of people in the area that it's workable.
Yeah, great. And I mean, a lot of lessons learned. On Friday, we also have another accelerator session on the topic, really sharing those learnings in more depth. Talking about public finance institutions, we move now to really the multinationals and the role of multilateral development banks, if I do it correctly. So, hey, Marcela, Lewis. So you work together a lot. Lewis, you're the CEO of Prolade. And IDB Invest, the private arm of the Inter-American Development Bank, a multilateral development bank, you co-financed Prolade. Marcela, you too. You want to join and tell us a bit more about your journey, what the challenges were, and how you actually made it work?
Yeah, thank you, Marvin. Hi, everyone. It's a really pleasure to be here today with all of you. And I'm very excited that we can share with all of you our experience with Prolade, because I think it's very inspiring for how circular economy can work in different sectors. You know, when many people start talking about circular economy, it's something in there that all people are always thinking about: recycling, waste management, and water treatment. And in the last years, we can discover and can show how different sectors are vinculated, and all the activities that they realize are very close to circular economy, and how circular economy work for different sectors in all of the countries. Circular economy at the end is about rethinking the process, the products, and consumption, and how we create value across the supply chain. So understanding this create an opportunity to the investment and to the financing, and try to see how to work with circular economy to tackle all different problems like climate change, biodiversity, and nature that we have in this moment. Prolade, a Mexican producer of sustainable palm oil, exemplifies the integration of circular economy with the palm oil sector. So, Luis, can you share with us what circular economy means to Prolade, and how can the palm oil sector contribute to the development of circular economy?
Thank you, Marcela. Well, for us, circular economy is not a marketing term. Basically, it's a way of using our waste, we're going to call it waste, as a way of extracting value. Let me explain. Palm oil production uses 25 million hectares in the world. That's a reality. And each hectare produces 10 10 tons of waste per year. So it's a lot of waste, and there's value in that waste. So we decided to reverse the way of looking into waste and how to do and extract value from the waste. So we implemented a pyrolysis system, a very simple system that has been around for thousands of years for humanity. And we produce biochar. Again, biochar has been in the world for many, many years. Actually, here in the Amazonians is where everything started. And biochar has 3 characteristics. The first one is that it contains the carbon for thousands of years. The second is that if it's put in the right type of soil, improves the nutrients and improves the way of microorganisms live in the soil, so we improve the soil. And third one is that you don't have to put that much fertilizer into the soil because you have more microorganisms. And at the end of the day, that means that with less fertilizer, you will have exactly the same results. So just to give you an idea, if you do this pyrolysis system in an hectare, you would receive around $1,000 to $2,000 of extra income for that hectare. That's a huge amount. It's even more than what you receive in soybean or whatever crop you can put. 60% comes from the carbon credits, the corks. It's permanent sequestration. So that's why it's so valuable. The second comes from the cost avoidance of the fertilizers. And the third one is that your yield is going to improve. So if you put biochar in a soil, you will have between 20 to 30% extra production or yield. That means 6 million hectares of land can be reutilized for other purposes if we can do something about it. So at the end of the day, it's a way of doing a margin expansion thanks to the incorporation of pyrolysis into the system. And it's not a marginal error. Just to give you an idea, if all the palm oil industry converts into biochar all their waste, the pollution of 30 to 50 million cars can be avoided. It's not a marginal error. It's important for the environment.
Thank you, Luis. And I think that it's important to mention that ProLade is not only biochar, because you do a lot of things related with waste, water, and energy in your process. So I think it's a very good example of how circular economy functions alongside the oil product and on all to the supply chain, and how you take from waste that you produce and enter this like a new product. And you are the first in Latin America in the sector palm oil that doing that, no? So.
Yes, exactly. We also use the water that comes out of the system. We can produce methane, and we're producing electricity out of this. And anything that we can use to reduce cost, and that's what is very important. It has to be done at the end of the day. And we're not alone. Sugarcane, rice, coffee, forestry, all of them have a huge amount of waste that can be transformed easily and with not that much money into valuable things.
Okay, we know, I'm sure that all people here know that adopting the circular economy face barriers for many companies. One of them is the lack of financing, and of course, the risk that we identify in these kind of projects, because it's very unknowing, and the financial institution, not all are ready to work with this. So that is the reason that in the IDB Invest, we start working with you and try to identify different financial instruments. And last year, we give you a loan for $50 million with the Canadian Climate Fund for the private sector and Finland LAC Climate Fund for a blended finance facility for ProLade. Can you share with us some of the experience about this? How difficult was this process, and how do you think that this can be replicated for other companies in not only in the pump sector? I think this is open for different sectors.
I would say that all the circular economy projects have 4 challenges in front of them. The first one has to do with CapEx. CapEx comes in upfront. So at the end of the day, you have to invest without any revenue, sometimes any idea if it's going to work. The second one has to do with a mismatch between the expenses and the revenues, because at the end of the day, it's going to take a while to have all the revenues, all the impact into your income, to be able to pay the loan, to pay your investors, or whatever structure you decide. The third one, and it's only for the circularity projects that are based in carbon credits. Carbon credits are not a sure thing. Corks, or permanent sequestration carbon credits, are very expensive right now, $120. But nobody knows in 10 years how much are they going to be valued, and that gives a lot of worrisome to the lenders. And the last one, and hopefully there's not that many risk managers around in the audience, but oh my God, you're the enemy. Because risk managers never approve this kind of projects, because it's easier to say no than to say yes, to be honest. And the IDB Invest, and the blended facility with Canada and Finland, they were able and they were courageous enough to say yes to a project like this, not only because it was palm oil, but also because at the end of the day, we were based on all the income that we have. It was not only based into the circular economy projects, but for sure, it also helps that we stack all our income. Obviously, we produce palm oil, and we produce a lot of it, and it's profitable. But also, we also have other sources of revenue, like the carbon credits, the productivity, the reduction in cost. The second thing that is very important is that we, at the end of the day, we integrate the biochar into our own soil. We don't have third parties. We don't move around the biomass. That's very critical into any circular project. You cannot move around the things. So you have to do it inside, and we did that, and that's also very important. So at the end of the day, is something that the risk management of the IDB and Canada and Finland were able to process, and that was very helpful for us, and thank you for your support.
No, thank you, Luis. I think it's very important, make a spotlight in two things. Is you mentioned risk, and that is one of the things that we try to work with the blended finance facilities, try to support this kind of new business, because it's not new really, but we know that you have a lot of challenges. The other thing, something that Patricia mentioned about how do we include in the returns the impacts that we have with these kind of projects. And this gives us an open conversation about how we can define better or common KPIs for circular economy, so we can use more blended finance, try to show how these impacts working in the process in any company in circular economy, or how we can make possibly sustainability-linked loans or sustainability-linked bonds to support circular economy, but it's something that we need to work together and try to define how we can show these impacts and how we are included these in the in the total cost and the capital, and we really measurement the projects. So thank you, Luis. I think Prolade is one of our favorite examples. You have a lot of things, and you do a lot of things great, and we are very happy to support the process with you.
Well, thank you, and thank you because at the end of the day, the facility that was provided by IDB Invest gave us a lot of credibility. What we wish is that this facility is an example going forward for other industries and for other parts of the world, because it works. Just to give you an idea, the facility is basically a 10-year bullet loan. So they understand that it's going to take time for us to pay the main amount. And if you do the milestones that you are asked for, like investing in the right things, the interest rate goes down. So my board has the incentive to invest in circularity because we reduce the cost of the loan. And I have all the incentive to invest in circularity because at the end of the day, I understand that my profit is going to increase, but it's going to take a while, and they understand it. So that's why having the right recipe is key for this.
Yes, thank you. No, super, super interesting. So what have I learned now? I mean, I think first that a byproduct, waste, can actually be kind of the cash cow. You can really make money with it. So I think that's an important lesson to learn and to be applied more widely. Then I think that this high capex, so high initial investment, that can be bridged again with blended finance and maybe de-risking instruments and so on. So that's something to really remember. Also that the return of investment takes a bit longer often for circular economy business models. And yeah, I like also, I mean, Luis, you really said also you have to broaden a bit your vision, right? It's not just about cost reduction, it's not just about carbon, it's also not just about profit. You know, you need to be creative and try to find different avenues in it. Thank you so much. Very, very inspiring, and all the best. And yeah, with that, I think we are moving closely to the end of our session, actually. So I'm also trying to now remember what we really want to take away from the session. I think first thing is what I started with. We need a more accurate valuation of resources and of emissions, because then a lot of these things will just make more sense. We will give more value to resources. And then we have not even talked about the need to reduce the overall need for resources. I think the second thing, and that's what hopefully the session also helped to understand, is that different businesses at different maturity stages require also different solutions, different financiers, different financing instruments, be it blended financing, be it guarantees, or credibility through also collaboration with other larger companies, equity. So it always is a bit of a case-by-case assessment. And I think that's the third learning, and that's especially also addressing the SMEs, because that's what we came here for, right? We want to move more money to circular businesses and projects. I think not just SMEs, but businesses also need to reach out to the financial sector and engage in these discussions to really understand that and find the tailored solution that is needed. So how do you reach out? I mean, I have something here. I also want to, I want to guide you to a number of accelerator sessions, because when I leave this kind of sessions, and sometimes I'm just on my laptop a bit and I'm not listening closely, but I find it interesting, I want to continue the discussion, and it always feels a bit I'm falling in this vacuum of and now. So I have a few accelerator sessions selected for you. The first one is from GIZ, the German Institute, really focusing more on the SMEs, so actual practical guidance to access circular financing. So really, how do you actually get money as an SME? That's happening on Thursday morning. These QR codes are, by the way, to sign up. Then I already mentioned it earlier with Xandra on Friday, and Friday morning, it's more really for the scale-ups and mid-sized businesses. It's a session called Trash to Treasure, Lessons Learned from Financing Recycling. That we're really going to dive a bit deeper into what went wrong in financing, but also how you can, of course, find solutions to that. Very excited about that session. And then we also really taking more this multilateral development bank and a national approach. We have another session for the big companies, and that's by the Ministry for Foreign Affairs of Finland, and also together with IDB and IDB Invest. It's international financing and funding for global circular economy business opportunities, taking place on Thursday, which is tomorrow at 12. There's more. There's also our friends from the United Nations Environmental Programme Finance Initiative. They have tomorrow an entire day really focusing on the topic, and also going to release a paper on this topic. So yes, feel free to join those sessions. In the end, I hope this was a bit inspiring, and we will move some money to the circular economy. And with that, I want to thank you my great panelists on stage, and everyone who was here. And let's make the world a bit more circular. Thank you.